This is a short video on flipped classrooms, and if you're not already using them in class, why you should be flipping your class. So let's begin. The first thing, what is a flipped class? A flipped class basically means that you take the lecture model from your classroom and you make that part of the homework assignment, taking advantage of new technologies in video and computer devices. So students watch your video at home. So what do we do in class? Class, we do more student-centered activities. So in class time, the student becomes the focus rather than the teacher's lecture being the focus of the class. So that is what a flipped classroom begins with. So, why should I flip? Alright, so we see here that in a flipped classroom, the homework becomes the center of the class and the lectures become the homework. The flipped classroom is all about the student. It's about using modern technology to create a pedagogy that would never have been possible before. Mainly, that a student is able to direct their own learning, and that when they're in the classroom, they have more time to be the center of attention, more time, direct involvement with the teacher, to make sure the students have learned the content and have been able to learn activities that they wouldn't be able to do if the teacher was always the center of the classroom. So again, why else should we flip? Well, there's a lot of reasons for doing this. Flipping increases the student interaction. So this means that the students get more time with the subject than they would normally get. So rather than the traditional model of students doing their homework back home and getting the lecture for 20 minutes when they come to class and then reviewing the homework for 20 minutes, which is really all teacher-centered, the students don't really get to ask a lot of questions or participate in activities. So this way, we flip the actual classroom into the homework section, and that way when students come to class, they get to practice. So flipping also changes the way we talk with parents. Parents are not usually involved. But if we flip our classroom, parents become an important part. They are the ones who are seeing what the lectures are about. They are the ones that are motivating our students when they're at home and becoming an active part of the students' learning at home. And again, flipping allows for more personal learning. When a student comes to class and they simply watch a lecture, every student is receiving the same instruction. But in a flipped model, they all receive the video lesson, but when they come to class, there's enough time to be able to handle each student individually. Each student receives attention that they wouldn't be able to receive with the time limits of a normal class. Personal learning is one of the most important and most essential parts of a flipped classroom. In another one, there have been a lot of studies that have shown that flipped classrooms increase student performance significantly. I would recommend that if you have not tried flipping a classroom yet, that you try to at least flip one class or two classes a week and see how your student performance changes. A lot of the benefits are that it teaches independent learning. The student is responsible for their own learning when they're at home. They're the ones that watch the lecture, and they're the ones that have decided whether or not they're ready to come to class and participate in the activities. It increases their motivation because if they want to do well in the activities and if they want to participate with their friends, they have to learn the lecture first. But there's the added benefit that students can rewatch a lecture, something that they would never be able to do in a normal classroom. Actually, that's how flipped classrooms began, by creating videos that students could watch to relearn their lessons that they maybe missed while they were sleeping in class. So students can pause, they can rewind, and they can rewatch a lecture. This has the benefit both for the students' learning of the material in the sense that they can review works, but it also has the added benefit for students that maybe have learning disabilities or ESL students can go back and watch parts of the video that they maybe did not pick up the first time. So, next, what sorts of tools can I use? Well, any kind of tools you want, really. There's Panopoto, Tegrity, Screencast-O-Matic. You can also use webcams, cameras, and smartphones. And you can use any kind of video editing software, like Windows Live Media Maker. Or you could use any kind of things like Lightshop or anything like that. That would be able to make a video that you could either upload onto YouTube or put it onto a Wicca. When you're done making your video, you can add it to your class blog, a website, Wicca, or email it to your students. This way that the students all have it access on the internet and they can watch the video as many times as they like. I recommend that you take a look at some of these resources and find out which is the best way for you to make a flipped video. There are four main pillars for flipped classrooms. The first one is flexible environments. you're going to have to be prepared for maybe a little bit more noise in your classroom. Class time is activity time. It's not a lecture anymore. Class time is going to be student-centered, and you're going to focus more on project-based learning, practice sessions, and real-world experiences using the information that they had learned the night before. The assessments are going to have to be more, should we say, rubric-based. More students are going to be able to have an objective assessment to their classes. Again, it's going to be a culture shift. It's going to be student-centered. Your students are going to become the focus of your class. You will no longer be the center of the universe. And the class will be more meaningful to your students. They will be more engaged, and the activities will directly involve them in the learning process. Intentional content. So what you teach is what you need to evaluate. What is most important? How can I make lessons that are direct and to the point? And the class time is going to have to be used for other methods. So each teacher needs to plan out what is the most important content and what is the most effective way to display this to the students, and what is the most effective activity to do in the flipped part of the class for the students to learn this material. Try to focus on student-centered approaches that include real-world problems. The next one is, don't worry about giving up your day job. Flipped classrooms, though there are lots of resources on the internet, and maybe they are all very, very good and effective, but they will never replace a qualified professional. What it really represents is a shift in your responsibilities as an educator. Rather than being the conveyor of information, the sage on the stage, you will now be more of a mentor, someone who can create videos, who can find videos, who can assemble content and direct their learning. So this is still going to require trained, qualified educators that can be able to pull this off effectively. So what we need is not new educators, and our students are not going to be taught by video machines. What we need is a change in educational strategy and a change in the way of you viewing yourself as an educational professional. So what are you going to do if you're not the center of the universe? Well, you active learning strategies. You can do labs. Peer instruction, in the sense that students that you have that maybe understand the content a little bit better can provide information on the subject. Or each student can have different objectives that they can then present to the class. Problem-based learning. Give the students a real-world issue involved with your subject that they can help to solve using the information that you've displayed to them. Socratic methods. Have them debate. If your class is about different kinds of historical topics, this is a great method for deciding maybe possible alternative histories, maybe deciding what kind of things would have happened if. Anything that places the student at the center of learning. For a computer class, if you were teaching something like the system life cycle, you can teach them how to be a systems engineer. What kind of steps do they have to do in the process, and how can they actually put together a project of system engineering? This ability of making the student the center of the universe has thousands of possibilities that you will have to explore as part of your educational profession development. So how long should you flip for? Again, it should be direct and to the point. No more than 5 to 10 minutes is a good range to shoot for. Remember, you can go over time, but it has to have a point to it. Most students are not going to have the attention span to pay attention for more than 10 minutes. In addition, if you have a concise lesson, 5 to 10 minutes is more than enough time to convey a decent amount of information that the students are going to be able to do an activity the next day and expand on those specific points that you taught. So, keep your lessons short, student-centered, and to the point. Thank you for listening. Again, if this is not a pedagogy that you have tried in your class before, I recommend that you begin flipping. Thank you.